Each of the entrepreneurs we visited, we've asked them some key questions. And one common thread between all these entrepreneurs is that they didn't give up on their dreams. We had the opportunity to highlight a story of this when I visited Gilson Snow in New Berlin, Pennsylvania. Their co-founders, Nicholas Gilson and Austin Royer, met with us to tell us about their story creating their snowboard and the ski company. I spoke with Nick first.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, thanks for being here.
Hey, it's good to be here. I met Nick, 3 years ago maybe?
Yeah, that sounds all right.
And we were in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and Nick was talking to a small group of local investors. We call them angel investors that invest in local entrepreneur companies. And they were impressed with Nick's company. And so they made an investment, and we wanted to showcase his company because they have very unique products, very interesting products.
So, well, thanks for being here and having us on the show. We were actually, Austin and I were middle school science teachers, and I brought in a prototype of a three-dimensional based snowboard that I had built when I was my student's age. And we got totally carried away. And what became a school project then became a class-wide endeavor. And then we joke that we more or less accidentally launched the company out of the classroom together. And that first summer we moved up here to central Pennsylvania we had enough money to either buy our first CNC robot or our first couple of months of rent. And so with our hands very much tied, we moved into a cabin that Austin had built back in the woods here with no running water or electricity. And we hiked out each day and built our first shop about 1.5 miles up the road in a donkey and horse stable that had belonged to his parents on the farm that he grew up on, the dairy farm. So pretty wild, yeah, humble beginnings. It doesn't get much grittier than that.
So one of the things that appealed to us about your company is the relationship that you have with artists that help produce these graphics.
Yeah.
And that tie into the individual snowboarder as well as the artist community. So talk a little bit about your philosophy there.
We tell our artists, instead of saying, design this board and then go away, we're like, we're gonna partner with you, we're gonna collaborate, we're gonna be part of this. And compensation scales with the success of the project. And so the artists are part of the deal. And so they're highly interested in both developing something that's super cool, taking a big risk, and then we're not stocking tons of inventory that we then have to throw away if we can't sell, right? It doesn't exist yet. So we can be really fast and really rapid, test new ideas, be bold, try new things, and if we fail, so what? We'll move right along.
We kept moving through their operations and met with Austin, Nick's friend and co-founder of the company.
So you're sitting around drinking a beer and you got some issue that you need to resolve. You don't know whether you're gonna get it resolved or not. It's one of those things that you gotta have. It's a serious conversation. What was that like? And give me an example how you resolved that and what was the next step that you took?
Sure. I would say that it was more issues and more beers than one single one. So it was a lot of things, and the biggest thing that we did was we decided things, right? We tried things, and when they failed, we came back to the drawing board, had another beer, and made another decision.
Great point.
It was really that quick iterations and testing over and being okay with failing versus trying to get everything perfect before we moved on.
Great.
So it was quick iterations.
Great point. So a great point to other people, the other entrepreneurs is, make a decision, have a way to get feedback on whether it's a good decision or not a good decision, and then go to the next one because that's how you'll learn, right?
Velocity should generally be prioritized over perfection.
Yeah, velocity over perfection. Great. So I'm interested in maybe some good advice that you actually didn't follow, but it was good advice, and why didn't you follow it?
Good question. Well, I think that there's a lot of different stories that come to mind. One of them is that Shark Tank reached out relatively early on when we started. We were doing a national tour at the time, and people were starting to learn about what we were up to, and we were very much still living inside of a manufacturing facility and building this place around us, and I think they were interested in the story. And 7 million people would have seen our work overnight. And we had a lot of guidance saying that you should just absolutely do this. And we had a lot of guidance saying that you should just absolutely not do this, right? And so it came down to a really visceral sort of gut feeling about what's right for the business and the brand. and we ultimately decided not to go on the show. I think it was good advice to go on the show. It was good advice not to go on the show. I think sometimes there's no right answer. There's no such thing as a silver bullet. And oftentimes the only wrong answer is indecision and getting stalled between two potentially good paths forward. And our reasoning at the time was that while the show would be fun and I'm sure we'd, be able to do a decent job on it, and hopefully come across well, we didn't want to be, the American snowboard company pulling itself up by its bootstraps, sawdust under the fingernails, burning the midnight oil as seen on Shark Tank. Just couldn't do it.
Gotcha. Didn't fit with your values, it sounds like.
And then what's crazy is that 2 weeks later, Outside Magazine reached out and profiled the company, which reached 7 million people too, and seemed like a much better place for us to be.
Great. So I'm just curious, if you had the opportunity to have an internship for 6 months with the Appalachian Investors Alliance and work with Jim and others that you know, how do you think that would have impacted you?
It'd be an invaluable experience, right? Invaluable. All of the lessons that we've learned have been by the seat of our pants, and as we've had to learn them, we've had a lot at stake. And I'd say the vast majority of the learning has come from osmosis, right? Just like hanging out in the same room with you and Jim and Scott, and literally drinking beers and talking strategy about what's next. And it's less academic, it's less textbook, it's less right, and it's even as important and simple seeming as learning the right language, right, of capital markets. So we're very lucky that we've been able to learn quickly on the job, but man, 6 months with you guys before jumping off the cliff and trying to build this company would have been really valuable.
Would have helped with that velocity.
I think so,
Great.
Especially early on.
And our investors are looking for companies like you in places like this, New Berlin, where they can invest in a company that has a really good idea and has an idea how they can get some growth and really employ people in the region and in the community and value their employees as human beings and assets and business assets. And you do that, so it's been a pleasure being associated with your company.
Thanks.
I'm glad we were able to visit you.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for coming by.
And
Thanks,
we look
especially
forward
with
to-
such a long trip to get here.
And we look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you all.